Gumption, defined as initiative, aggressiveness, resourcefulness, courage, spunk, guts, common sense, and shrewdness. Welcome to the podcast. This is Stories of Gumption with your host, Ryan Lee. All right, here it is, episode 14. We're here for another episode of the Stories of Gumption podcast. For all you that are new listeners, thanks for trying the podcast out. If you're a returning listener, thanks for tuning in this far. Hope you've enjoyed it. We got another really good episode for you today. Number 14. Really pumped about this. Again, Stories of Gumption. What are we doing? We're having conversations with entrepreneurs, creative thinkers, and just really, really impressive people. Let's talk about our two sponsors who have been hanging on for the long haul here. We really appreciate their support and everything that we've been able to do with the podcast because of them. The first, we're switching it up, Kavanaugh Realty. Kavanaugh Realty is a local independent real estate company helping their neighbors buy and sell their homes. You can check them out on the web or on social media, #LocalMatters. And I've shared this story before, but when my wife Lauren and I were buying our house, we actually decided at the 11th hour we wanted to make an offer. First-time home buyer, that's really scary. We didn't know what we were doing, but Galen Trombley from Kavanaugh Realty helped us through it. He was actually on vacation and Skyped with us the night before we wanted to make our offer. And because he did that and put in the extra effort, we actually beat out another offer. And here we are, sitting in the Gumption studio in our house. So Kavanaugh Realty, they're doing great things. And in our experience, great with first-time home buyers. The second sponsor we have is Open Gate Farmstead. They are a stone's throw away from the mighty Ausable River. Open Gate Farmstead is a first-generation farm specializing in free-range poultry, pasture-raised pork, and seasonal produce. The farm is run using a simple principle. Happy animals make the healthiest and tastiest product. So check them out on their YouTube page. They got a really cool YouTube page. Maybe you're not interested in buying some locally sourced eggs or meat or vegetables, but they got a really cool YouTube page that's telling their story and the whole farm-to-table movement and local agriculture. It's great for our economy, but they got a cool thing going on, so check it out. Also, if you are interested in buying some eggs, for a special offer for Gumption listeners, they're taking $1 off. That's right, $1 off, big money, your first order of eggs. But the eggs are phenomenal. Lauren and I eat them all the time, and they're really good. So check it out, Open Gate Farmstead and Kavanaugh Realty. If you're interested in sponsoring the Stories of Gumption podcast, send us a message at Stories of Gumption Podcast, all one word, all lowercase, Stories of Gumption Podcast @gmail.com. Be happy to have a conversation with you about what sponsorship looks like. So that's that. Episode 14. Here we go. Super pumped about this one because not only do I get to have a cool conversation with a cool friend of mine, but I think I'm going to learn something today too. Today's guest is the Violence Prevention, Education, and Outreach Coordinator within the Title IX Department at SUNY Plattsburgh. I'm super pumped about this conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Zyaijah Nadler.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped to have you on the podcast,
I'm
Zyaijah.
excited.
Yeah, no, this should be good. And when I asked you to be on the podcast, I wasn't sure what you were going to say because
I wasn't sure what I was going to say either.
Yeah, because we've met primarily through board games. Yes, serious board gaming.
We still haven't finished, but it's okay.
And you and I have been adversaries.
Yes.
In board games. So for the listeners that don't know, Zyaijah, myself, my wife, and another friend of ours, Jake, have been playing this game called Risk Legacy. I've never played it before.
It's awesome.
Had you played it before that?
That was my first time.
Okay. So it's risk, but like
intense.
Yeah. Yeah, like
full speed ahead, nonstop.
Yeah,
destruction.
Like yeah, like in order to win Risk Legacy, you have to win how many games of Risk?
Way too many. Was it 15, 12, 15?
I don't know. It's crazy. It's like 15 games of Risk, yeah, and you draw all over the board, you change it, things blow up, and it's
you open boxes.
Yeah, it's fun. We have a friend, Jake, like I said, who, I mean, he doesn't actually treat the game this way, but we joke all the time that he is Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec when he makes the cones of Dunshire. Yes. So anyhow, I digress. I asked you to be on the podcast after this experience. You and I have gone up against each other in battle on Risk Legacy, had a great time. Maybe
still winning.
You are still crushing everybody.
Thank you.
Which is certainly its own form of gumption. But I'd like to know, what is your definition of gumption?
Yeah. So I think I created my own definition, well, obviously after I had to look up the definition, because I was like, what is this word? This doesn't sound right. I was like, how do you even pronounce this? And I was like, all right, let's go. So I, of course, as I do, my young self, I Googled it.
Yes. And when that's what I did, admittedly, too.
Yep. And when I Googled it, I found it was like resourcefulness and aggressive. And I was like, ooh, aggressive. I don't like that word. But okay, let's see what else. And it was like innovative. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I feel that. Like, I can relate to that. So I chose to take the words innovative and resourcefulness to really be that creative. So I think when you mentioned earlier being that creative mind, I think that's the combination of it. If you want to be creative, you have to be innovative, because you have to be willing to hear people tell you no, or that's a silly idea, and then still go with it and be like, well, I'll find these resources somewhere. If you don't want to give it to me, I will find them. And I think that's what it means to me, being able to find what you want.
I like that a lot. And I've gotten a lot of different perspectives on gumption just from doing this podcast in a short while. You know, we're only at episode 14, and I have not asked the definition of gumption question to every guest, but most guests have had their own take on it, and I think that's kind of like, it's an interesting thing about why I love the word gumption.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's funny to say too. I think it's like, it feels good really saying it.
Yeah.
Like once I got it, I was like, I got this. Like
Gumption.
I can actually use this. I feel like I'm pulling out dictionary words now. Like I feel like an adult if I use this word.
Yeah.
So I impressed myself by learning this word. So thank you for that.
Hey, yeah. And I think that's the beauty of it. It means something different to everybody. And I like your definition.
Thank you.
I really do. Innovation and it keeps us moving forward, which I think will certainly be a great sub theme of our conversation. Yeah. But let's help the listeners understand a little bit more about who Zyaijah is. So, where'd you grow up? You know, where'd you go to school? What'd you do for fun? Tell me about your family, or whatever you'd like to share about your background. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm from Rockland County, New York. If you are from New York City, then it's considered upstate. But you learn quickly going to Plattsburgh that nothing is upstate until you are in Plattsburgh. So I learned that very fast. But I am from Rockland County. I'll still say upstate because a lot of people will still ask me what, where. And the only way I can answer is the Palisades Mall or Woodbury Commons because that's the only way they know. But yeah, it's not a large county. I'm from a small city in there. My school was majority people of color, specifically Haitian. We have a very large Haitian population.
Very cool.
We also have a very large Jewish population. They're both Hasidic and Orthodox. So it's very interesting. Struggles going through school because if you Google Rockland County, East Ramapo, and just the school board, you'll see a lot of stuff. There's a lot of animosity between just based on allocations of funds and, where, you may not be from a good area. So it reflects on your school. Your school's not going to get the best funding and you're going to lose your arts, your science and math, which for me, I feel like those are very important, especially growing up. Like you need art class, you need math class. Like you can't just have everyone going into STEM. And I think that's where we're leaning towards now. But at one point they started losing the music classes and things like that. And I was like, don't do that because everyone can't do math. Everyone can't do science. But honestly, it was a great time growing up. I had a lot of frequent trips to Toys R Us.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I was for a period of time. I was what people consider like a latchkey kid. My grandparents both work for transit. They are now retired, thankfully. So they work for transit and had to commute to New York City very oftentimes. I have an older sister who I live with back at home, obviously.
Yep.
She's not here with me, which is okay. But yeah, so I live with her and we pretty much raise each other. But of course, my grandparents were always there. If I called them, they were on the first bus headed home.
Yeah.
Anything happened. I also had the pleasure of being raised by my great grandmother. So she was in our life for a long time before she passed last year. And she was in the household burning up pans, cooking and making stuff she probably shouldn't be making at her age. But, it was great. She was fantastic. I loved her. I love all my parents. Really cool with my mom, too. My mom lives in Kissimmee, Florida with my 2 younger brothers. Some other siblings, too, from my father's side. One lives in North Carolina, the other one in Long Island. So we were definitely really spread out. The majority of my family is from New York City or Virginia. That's where I would consider my roots. A lot of people always go like, oh, like, what are you? And I'm like, I don't know. It always depends on who you're asking. You'll just get black. Like, it's just the easiest go-to. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you go speak to my mom, you'll get, oh, you're Italian and you're black and you're white and you're all this. But for me, I just sum it up to be black. It's just easy. It's just one word. Just cool. I'll also say Native American because I do have some Native American history in my lineage. But it's one of those things that if you're not directly connected, you kind of can't count it anymore. So I only count it to a certain extent. But yeah, and then I came to Plattsburgh. So growing up was cool in Rockland, and I'll still say upstate, and I'll claim it as upstate, even though it's not.
I saw a map on, I don't know, it was Facebook or something recently. It was like redefining the sections of of New York, and like Rockland County to like Albany was considered upstate.
Yep.
And then like we were like from Albany up to Canada, which for those not from New York, that's where we're at. We're basically Montreal's U.S. suburb in Plattsburgh. It was like, I don't know, the Great North Country.
Yep, North
Siberia.
Country, might as well have been Siberia. Honestly, it feels like that. So.
And in that Escape from Dannemora show, I've grown up most of my memorable life in Plattsburgh. I never heard Great Siberia as a way they describe up here, but apparently that's what a lot of the inmates refer to this area as. I mean, so I learned something from that too.
I would get that though. It's very cold. Very, very cold.
This winter in particular?
Yes. It was terrible.
Long.
It was very bad.
Long.
Very bad.
So I'm going to guess, I could be wrong, but did you play a lot of board games as a kid?
Yes. I love board games. My family,
no wonder you kick my butt at board games all the time.
I'm very good at board games. I mean, I will say that, Risk is not one of them that I played before, and I feel like I probably should have integrated that, but I will definitely integrate that in my future with other friends and family. But my family is definitely huge on board games. Like charades is something that we like have to play at any family gathering. Like you can guarantee we're playing charades.
Oh wow.
And then even if I invite like friends and stuff over, they're like, what is happening here? And I'm like, yeah, just join in, find your fit. Don't get it wrong and don't make my team lose. You'll be great. Like just don't make us lose. So we are very big on games. For a while, back when the Wii was popular, we started doing the Wii, and Just Dance was really big.
Wii bowling?
Wii bowling was big.
Ooh, I had a mean Wii bowling.
I was not. That was one area where the curveballs, I was like, I don't understand. I'm not turning my wrist. Please.
Stop curving the ball.
Yeah, someone help. So yeah, board games was like huge. Like still to this day, I mean, I have Jenga, I have Uno, I have Mancala, like I have dominoes. Wow. Trouble, sorry, like I am very big. Charade, Chutes and Ladders, like you can always find a game if you find me, because I feel like that's a great way to connect with people.
Yes.
As well as exposing them to different games that they've never played. Like seeing how many people have never played charades, I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, this is such a simple game and so easy, and it's just guessing. Like, just guess and act out what you're hearing.
You ever bring a significant other over and they're like, whoa, like I didn't know you're a gamer, so to speak.
We're not together anymore. No, that's not why. But I feel like that's,
priorities.
Yeah. They made us lose. Like, they were terrible.
Oh,
no. But yeah, I've had, obviously not a lot, but I think one maybe. And I think it was Thanksgiving. It was like a Thanksgiving dinner. And after Thanksgiving, we played like a game, and they just weren't up to par when it came to the game. It was just like, no, I need you to get in here and you know, don't say these bottom words. Like, for some reason, like, I think a lot of my family assumes that we don't have to go over the instructions very well. And then you have people who come into the house and they have never heard the game and they really need instructions, and it does not go well because my family can be pretty ruthless when it comes to a game sometimes. Yeah,
it's like listen, this isn't that serious, but it's effing serious.
Yes,
okay,
extreme.
Get with it. Get on our level. Yeah,
it's like,
I'm with you.
I need you to act like you played for every day.
Like, so you ever had a moment, the classic proverbial moment of Monopoly and everybody hates each other at the end of the night?
So Monopoly is the game that I will not play. Like, I cannot stand Monopoly. It takes way too long. I have an uncle who that is his first go-to game, and that's just where I'm out. Like, that's where I draw the line. It takes way too long, and it gets very hostile for no reason. I'm like, we can just pack this up and put these little pieces back in the box. Monopoly is one where I'm like, nope, this is not for me. But I let everyone else play. Everyone else can have at it. But I think Uno is my, like, Monopoly. Like, Uno is where I'm, like, very intense. Like, no, we make up our own rules. Don't follow what Uno instructions say. Play like this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We might have to try that. Yeah. Like, because Uno's got some iterations too that are interesting. You know, the one, I don't know all of them, but like they're spitting cards at you and randomly, but the classic Uno.
Yes, classic Uno is where it's at. I mean, the new one that they have, one of them is like you can add your own. You can have like dares to it. Or they have their own flip, where you can. They have one it's like you actually flip hands with the other person that you're playing with, or the group of people, or you may switch hands. Yeah, it can get really intense very fast with Uno too. But I don't like the machine ones, like the spit. I don't like that. It's too much.
Gimmicky.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. There's another game, Phase 10. Phase 10. Yeah, that's a good one too. I can get intense with Phase 10.
Yes. It's not something I grew up with. Still good at it, but it's just one of those.
So that was like your thing. Was like games, like it's music, sports, anything like that, or
music if I'm listening to it. But I never really fit. Like, my taste never really fit in with anybody else. So growing up in Rockland, if you're around Haitians, you were listening to compa. Okay. I can listen to compa. It's great. But at a certain point where I don't understand what's happening, I don't want to listen to it anymore.
Right.
So compa is amazing. I love soca music. I love dancehall music and reggae, and all of that, because that's a part of Rockland too. At least where I'm from in Rockland. But then I'm just very big on like R&B and soul music and things like that. It's very calming. Every now and then I'll do a little rap, but
nice.
Sometimes it feels like they're yelling at me, and I don't appreciate that. So
yeah. I like happy rap.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
I'm such a simple guy. I was like, yeah, I like happy rap. No big deal. Awesome. Okay. So you're growing up in Rockland County. You're having a great time. You're playing lots of board games. You're prepping for this long-term, so to speak, Game of Thrones victory over us in Risk Legacy. You're gonna win that, I think. The whole thing.
I'm not gonna jinx myself.
Yeah, but
I'll speak into existence.
I might try and jinx you right now, just so I can win. No. So you eventually are getting ready to graduate high school, and the classic decision that we all go through.
Yep.
What the heck am I gonna do when I graduate high school?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? What was your headspace? And how did you ultimately make it to Plattsburgh?
Yeah. So again, family is like very big for me. I have an aunt who graciously and thankfully was like, I'll help you pay for it. And she did. But her number one stipulation was I couldn't go to like community college. Like I couldn't go to close because, Rockland has community college as well. And I was like, it's in the SUNY, like it's public, like it's cool. It's literally like 10 minutes from home. I was like, I can make it there with no problem. And then she was like, no, you can't go there because then you're just going to want to stay at home and, help everybody raise a family, which was my plan. She's not lying. It's true. And I was like, okay, fine. So, and a means of being like spiteful, I looked at like the map of SUNY schools because I knew I wasn't going private because I was like, I can't afford private and I'm not going to make you pay for it. Because if in 10 years you want the money back, I don't want to give it back to you.
Yeah.
So I looked at the SUNY map and I was like, all right, let's do this. And I saw Plattsburgh and it was like far up in New York. And I was like, that can't be too bad. And I did University of Buffalo and I was like, that can't be bad either. And there was a few other schools. I don't remember which two, but I know University of Buffalo and Plattsburgh was my big two, but they were also
literally
very
the
far.
two farthest away.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, this will be perfect. This will work well. So of course I got accepted to both. And then I looked into how large University of Buffalo was. And I was like, oh, this is a big school. I don't like you have to take a bus from the dorms to your classes for most of the classes.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's a lot more snow. And I was like, I don't think the spiteful thing was working out for me at all. So then I looked at the map again and I was like, Plattsburgh it is. Fine, it's fine. We'll look it up. And like people always told me, they were like, not people always told me, but Plattsburgh had an ambassador come down. They were like, yeah, it's cold. And like, they were trying to sell it. They didn't do a great job selling it, but
there's snow and it's cold. But it's Plattsburgh.
Yeah, like it's great. So much to offer. So then we got in a car. Well, we didn't get in a car. No, it's not what happened at all. My aunt was like, sure, let's do this. And we were coming up for orientation and she's like, well, I'm not driving. And I was like, I'm not driving either. So I don't know who's doing this. Cause we looked it up and it was like 5 hours and we were like, oh, this is a bad move. But we already put down our deposit. Like what's going to happen here? She's like, okay, we're going to fly up there. And I was like, well, this is the bouginess of my family. I was like, this is the epitome of what my family is like. Like, because the flight was only 45 minutes from New York City to Vermont was 45-minute flight. And I was just like, wow, we got on and we got off. That's how fast it was. It was a wonderful flight. They still gave us, I think, cookies at the point. So I love flight cookies and that was awesome. And then I went and at that time, Plattsburgh had people that could pick you up from the airport during orientation. So
Clutch.
the person came. They picked us up. They were a really great tour guide. They really was selling the school and everything. And then we got on the ferry and then it was like 16 wheelers with us on the ferry. And I was like, what the hell did I get myself into? And why is this truck on the ferry? Cause like if you're from New York, like you can go on the Staten Island ferry, but you're not going to have 16 wheelers. It's going to be like quick little passenger cars. Just trying to get to the other side.
The little guys that aren't going to be dangerous as you perceive. Yeah.
On water at that may tip over. So I was like, oh no, this is not, I don't feel safe. I'm worried. And also I looked at the weather before I came and it was like 30 degrees. Mind you, it was July. So I'm like 30 degrees in July. Like, whoa, they were not lying. They said it's like cold. And I'm like, what's going on up here? I got up here and it was hot, boiling hot. And I'm just like, I have Uggs on. I have a hoodie. I have like 3 layers on.
Oh, man.
So I'm burning up. It's orientation. So, of course, only thing I packed was hot things.
Yeah.
So it was not a good idea. I go back because I'm like, what is wrong with my weather map? It's in Celsius.
Oh. So it was hot.
It was hot.
Wow.
It was really hot out that time. So, of course, I was just burning up, looking silly in Uggs as if I don't know where I was coming from. So then, I ended up here and I realized that, in the summer,
somehow
it does
through all
get
of
hot.
that, you were like, Yeah, I'm still coming.
I'm still gonna make it here, right? But it's just because the University of Buffalo is just way too big, too big. Yeah.
Okay, so the decision to come to Plattsburgh was a combination of family, inspiration, so to speak, to get out and go see the world a little bit, but also trying to find a school that felt comfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
And Plattsburgh was that fit. Okay. So now I'd like to, we're about 25 minutes in. This is a perfect time for you to tell me your story of gumption. Just tell me like a story where you had to muster together maybe some gumption, or whether it was in college or adolescence or any period that we've talked about already, or moving forward where you're in college or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm rambling, but you know what I'm saying.
I got you.
You got me.
Yep, I got it.
Let us know. Yeah, tell me your story.
I definitely don't think it was something that I had as an adolescent. It was not one of my things, but then college came, and I realized that I can be a brand new person, be my own person, and it was awesome. And then college kept going, but I knew that no matter what school I went to, I needed to leave a mark in some way and be impactful for some people. So I had to obviously start looking into what does that mean? What does that look like for me? And what kind of mark is it? Is it something that's going to go away once I go away? So then how was I resourceful? So I think just looking up into what Plattsburgh really had to offer, going on to hikes and realizing that hikes wasn't for me. That's how I learned to be innovative and find that, maybe you're not going to go to one of the peaks, and instead you're going to go to Point of Rush and walk on pretty much flat land the entire time. Yeah. And feel like you really accomplished a lot. So I think that was a huge, innovative part for me, in terms of knowing that while I'm in Plattsburgh, I don't have to live up to the expectations of what Plattsburgh sells, which is the Adirondacks, which are beautiful. Oh, so beautiful, but it also isn't me. I'm not going to be a 46er anytime soon. So
that's a big commitment.
Yes, it's too much. It's way too much. I can barely run. But I like learning that for me was really innovative, because I thought coming to Plattsburgh, that was something that was everyone did. And if you didn't do it, then you didn't really come to Plattsburgh. So that's how I was innovative in itself. And then now in my role here, I use what students complain about. I use what my former colleagues, would say they wanted to see in Plattsburgh. And I'm like, okay, well, let's make these things happen. Even if they're not here. And of course, I will always give them all the credit. But while people are not here, we still have a lot of work to do. So I think that's a big thing with resources.
So what did you graduate with a degree in?
I graduated with sociology, criminal justice, and then a minor in gender and women's studies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And tell me about that. So, what gravitated you to each of those different subject areas? So
I had no clue what sociology was when I first came. It's not something they talk to you about. It's not realistic at all. So initially I came in and I was psyched, because, I want to understand people's minds and why people think the way they think and how their mind works. And then I got into Psych 101 and I was absolutely not. I think
a lot of people do that.
I was this is not fun at all. And thankfully at the same time I was in a Soc 101, so Sociology 101 course. And I was okay, I care more about the world and how the world thinks on a greater level. The one-on-one individual is great, but everything that we do as a society comes from a structure that was placed before us. So how we react one-on-one in society is one thing, but trying to, in some ways, dismantle and disrupt some of the things that were created before us, I feel like we all have an obligation for that, to do that. So then I chose sociology. And then criminal justice, I always, and still to this day, I want to in my future build a recreational center, way in the future, not no time soon. But if anyone listening would like to help me achieve that, thank you. I appreciate it now.
That's sweet.
Because there's a lack of them everywhere, and of course you have children who are going alternative options into the streets and things like that, and I want to prevent that. Or even those who just have rough childhoods growing up. I don't want to make them feel as though the only option they have is to just go through life instead of living life. So then I wanted to work with girls, especially who were in juvenile centers or getting released from juvenile centers, to really make sure that they feel hope and that they have a system set up where they can succeed no matter what their past was showing them. And then gender women studies is, I feel like everyone should take one of those courses, like 100%.
Yeah.
It's really misleading for a lot of people. They think it's all about women and that we're all going to hate men when we get out of it. But a lot of ways you just appreciate a lot of things and you have a better understanding of the structures that are put on us that we don't get to choose.
As someone who has not taken one of those classes, what is like a simple takeaway that you can share with me that I can share with someone else from gender and women's studies coursework?
Yeah, I think understanding the number one thing, obviously, that's an easy go-to is like feminism. Understanding that feminism isn't one thing. Like there's so many. You have radical feminists, you have black feminism, you have liberal feminism. There's so many breakthroughs of just that umbrella term in general, and I think we can't ever group any one of them alike. Even when we break down what a radical feminist is, like they all don't look alike, they all don't sound alike, and understanding that feminism doesn't mean you hate men. Yes, can there be individuals who hate men out there? Yeah, sure, and I let them live their lives as they choose to do so. But overall, it's just understanding that you may be a part of this umbrella group, but your individual self does not mean you reflect all the ideals of that group. And things change. Things gravitate over time. Yeah.
No, that's great. And, you know, we talk about things like just the gender pay gap and simple things like that. I feel like if everybody was required or strongly encouraged to have that as maybe a gen ed or something where they're just exposed to the content and maybe their perspective is pivoted a little bit or
even a little bit would help. Just even a little.
Yeah. And I mean, I think at least from my experience of attending classes that my wife has taught at SUNY Plattsburgh on diversity and social justice, there's a lot that can be learned from just taking it all in and not necessarily walking in with this mindset that they're going to try and tell me I'm wrong.
Yep.
Because if you walk in with this mindset that, the classic, these liberals, quote unquote, are going to just try and tell me I'm wrong, not to make things political, but it's not about that at all. It's about the golden rule, treating people the way you want to be treated. But wouldn't you want to get paid for the same job, regardless of any other characteristic?
Who you were.
Yeah, because you're qualified to do that job. Yep. So I digress a little bit, but to your point, that's a great course of study, and I think that's something that a lot of people can gain from, and I kind of wish I took it when I was in college, but I never did. Never had an interest, and that was my own naivety to it. Yeah. So you graduate with those degrees, and you're, again, at that pinnacle moment where you say, what am I going to do? Was it in your head that you were going to leave Plattsburgh?
Yes.
Be honest.
Yes. 100%. Yes.
Tell me more about that. And the basis of my question is because as someone who grew up here most of my memorable life, and I'm very active in different communities, one in particular, Adirondack Young Professionals. Our goal is to retain talented young people like you. I don't think we had any impact on you whatsoever, but I'm curious of your experience in making that decision.
Yeah. I had already, it's funny enough, I left Plattsburgh. Like, I packed up, I made it home, I was good, settled in.
Oh, wow.
Unpacked. And then maybe a week and a half after graduation, they called me and they were like, hey. And of course, I freak out and overthink about everything. So I saw the call. Well, I saw the voicemail first. And it was like, please give us a call back. And I was like, oh, no. Because while I was up here, I joined a sorority. I was in the student association, the student government. And I worked for our community service entity on campus. So I did a lot of things. So I thought I didn't finish something that I started. And I was like, oh, man, I'm in trouble. What am I going to do? It's not going to be great. So then I finally mustered the guts to call him back. And I was like,
the
all
gumption,
right.
in a
yeah,
way.
see, look at that. I was like, all right, I'm going to call him back. And I did. And they were like, do you want to come back? And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess. I mean, this wasn't in my plans, but I also didn't have any plans. I left with the mindset of I have 6 months to figure out whatever works. And I know that anyone who's graduating does not have an immediate job. Like, number one thing is they say, like, if you graduate and you have an immediate job, shout outs to you. And it's true.
You're a minority.
Yeah, you are indeed. So really kudos to you, because it's not a privilege everyone else gets. So getting the call back, I felt in a way like privileged. I recognized that. And I was like, clearly if they're calling me back, I have something that wasn't finished there yet. And I'm okay with that. And for me, I have to finish whatever I started. So them calling me back means internally I didn't finish something. So I had to go back. And I think that's a big way of retaining students here is when they graduate, obviously, is they don't feel like they've left anything. So you have to, one, make students feel as though they're leaving something behind that they can come back and tend to if need be. And I think even creating opportunities while they're here, for example, internships, socials, as ADK YP does, creating those opportunities so they can meet with things. Because also, I mean, the reality of it is a lot, especially for students of color and other marginalized communities, you have it where we've endured some craziness while we were up here. So like going back, even the idea of going back was like, oh no, like what am I going to encounter next time I go back? So even seeing that, I mean, I was like, all right, I guess there's something here. And I guess making people feel wanted here is important too.
That's incredible. So the role that you came back to is the role you're in now?
In a way, yes.
Tell me about that a little bit.
So initially we had another opportunity that came up, and unfortunately it went away because it ended up just not being a fit. So that was the initial role that happened. And then, but again, unfortunately, it was at the same time last February when the Snapchat incident broke out on campus. So at that point, my predecessor, who's amazing, and I love her so much, still to this day, we still talk all the time. It was like, she was like, I'm done in Plattsburgh. I can't do this anymore. And I really saw how it was affecting her mental health, especially as a Black woman. So I was like, all right, well, if you're done, I mean, again, this is still work that someone has to do. And if that position that I was initially in isn't a fit and isn't going to benefit the students or the outer campus, I'm not going to do it. It makes no sense. So with her leaving, I was like, I got you. Like, I'll take this on because I know you still have things lined up and these are your babies, and I'm going to make sure that you have your babies and still give you full credit for everything that you've achieved up here.
Well, that's crazy. That's well, without really going into it, you know, Lauren and I lived through that, as she's an employee of SUNY Plattsburgh as well. And I think every employee in their own way had their own struggle or challenge through that incident. And that certainly was a tough time for Plattsburgh because on one hand, and this is just me talking out loud, my perspective and experience as a community member, you highlighted something that's kind of always been there to North Country, New York. We're not a very diverse area, and so the sensitivity around what's funny and what's not is not always there. So that's a lesson, right? But then there's also the piece of like, how do you connect the community to the students who, like yourself, are not from Clinton County and make them feel welcome in that moment? That's a tough time.
Yeah. It was not fun.
Man.
Especially as I transitioned. I was now into the new role. So it was like I had so many students who I was still close with, who were, because ideally, I graduated a semester early as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my entire class was still there, and I still had to assume this position as like a staff member and, you know, keep face for the campus. But yeah, at the same time, you're hurting, but still trying to keep face. It was like really tough indeed.
And that on its own could be like your big story of gumption, likely. And for all those faculty and staff members who were saving face, as you said, for the students, and also fighting through your own pain and hurt from that. And for the listeners who don't really know, we're not planning on going into detail, but there was a racist Snapchat that occurred that struck the SUNY Plattsburgh community very rough, very hard. And from the top down, every student, every faculty member, from the president down, was affected by it in some way. And it was big. It was significant, and took a lot of gumption to be an employee supporting your students at that time. So I guess what I'd like to ask then is sort of this other question that I'm curious about, because I think the connection between the community, General Platt, like me as a business person, that I'm not on campus very often. I occasionally show up because my wife works there, but otherwise I would never be on campus. How do I, as a community member, support or connect with the SUNY Plattsburgh community and help students who may not be from here, or if they are from here, feel welcome, and that, I forget how you phrased it, but like they have something they'd be leaving behind if they left Plattsburgh.
The one thing that always, and I continue to say it, is to validate the feelings of students that are up here, whether it be when Snapchat is going on or now the aftermath of Snapchat. You still have a lot of students who are hurting because they lived through that. So validating those feelings and understanding that, to someone from up here who it may have just been a joke and a really easy joke, it's not, right? It's something that clearly is affecting people's livelihood and makes people feel unsafe. So number one thing is always validating those kinds of feelings and saying, like, you know, like, I see you, like, I don't get it. Because I think that's the number one thing we try to do. We try to get it and relate to it in some kind of way. But there's some things that you just will never relate to, and that's fine. But still through that saying, you know, like, I don't get it, but thank you for sharing. And I'm sorry, like, I'm sorry it happened. I genuinely don't have too much control over what people say. But I want to be here for you. And through that, while doing that, I think even educating ourselves, like right now, even now as a staff member, I may go, or when I'm out in the community, there's times where I'm facing microaggressions as a Black woman. So explaining to people and, you know, calling them out on the microaggressions can be really tiring, because I'm like, here we go again, like, here I am. For those of you who don't know what a microaggression is, it's slight, subtle things that people say or people do that have a larger impact. And it's that essence of intent versus impact. And, you know, you may love my hair. My hair currently can't see it, but my hair is curly. And, you know, it may be mesmerizing if you've never seen anyone with curly hair. But asking, can I touch your hair, is not something that you would do to everybody. Right. So I think seeing that and understanding that and what it's true. And it's like, again, your intentions may be awesome and you're a wonderful person, but your impact, you may still hurt someone through that. There's great videos on YouTube, microaggressions, like mosquitoes is an awesome one. What if white people had to encounter microaggressions? There's amazing ones out there. So doing that self-education as well, so that if you're speaking to someone who you're really, again, you're trying to get that retention, you're trying to keep them up here, you don't have to ask them all the questions, because again, we have that burden of having to explain and educate, which is great, and you know, we are educators, but it's tiring too. Like, it's tiring, and you don't get paid
Yeah.
to educate. Like,
Yeah.
I don't make enough money to tell everyone every single day what a microaggression is, and then to practice self-care when someone tells me, no, it's just you being sensitive. Like, I don't have enough. No one pays me for that. I don't have enough time for that kind of self-care. So I think noticing that, and even calling out your friends or your family when you're sitting at a Thanksgiving table or just a Sunday dinner, like, hey, like, did you know this is happening today? Like, all those conversations.
Yeah, no, that's good. And how do you draw the line between that line you said of like, I'm just being sensitive today versus like recognizing that this actually harms somebody? Because there's a classic scenario of like, well, yeah, you're just being sensitive, and I'm not gonna worry about you being sensitive, calling you a baby or whatever.
I've had moments where I'm like, oh, that person's sensitive, but I've now learned and I've grown from it, which is important too. Growth is key,
right?
I think even growth can be a part of Gumption too. But
absolutely, I like that.
But learning and saying that I don't get to identify how someone feels hurt. Like, I don't get to choose what hurts you. Like, because again, we all have different backgrounds and different life things. So for you, you may see me as someone who's in Plattsburgh, who's just really friendly and awesome, and I am. But
yes,
you don't know.
Unless I'm playing against you in Risk,
True,
and then
true. That is very true.
Shit's getting serious.
But you don't know how many times people have asked me, can I touch your hair, right? And you don't know what I've been through with my hair and that background history. So now you meeting me, you don't have the authority to, define that, hey, that's not a big deal. It's not that serious. I get to choose that because it's my body, it's my thoughts, it's how I feel about myself. So I think giving everyone that autonomy to choose what they feel like, how they define their hurt. Like, it's no big deal there.
And I think you just articulate something that's really important that's not always conveyed, but like sort of if I come up to you and I do that microaggression about your hair, for me, it's a one-time experience. And I'm like, well, geez, it was just one thing, like, chill. But you articulated the fact that there's a historical piece to this that might be the bigger reason why someone sees it as a microaggression. And I think that's a great point on perspective. Don't assume you know why the person is upset.
Yeah. Or you can relate to why they're upset.
Yeah.
That too. You can't relate to everything. And that's fine. Yeah. And that's fine. It's nothing wrong with that.
You don't have to be able to relate to understand.
Very true.
Yeah. So we're talking about like having conversations at home, but like and like with your personal family and friends, and I get that, like, that's definitely a way you can move a conversation towards dialogue of how people feel and just awareness. But what about big picture community things? Like, what kind of feedback do you get from the SUNY Plattsburgh students on what they wish they saw from the community, kind of as a whole, like bigger picture stuff?
Yeah. Well, of course, there's not things that we're going to have a lot of controls on. But like the mall, I hate it. Like,
really?
I hate the mall. Like, I hate the mall.
I'm not a huge fan either, but I'm curious what your reason is.
Yeah, there's nothing in it for me. Like, I have DSW, great. I have Target, even better, even though I can spend a lot of money in Target that I don't need to spend. But I have Target.
Kohl's is coming.
Okay.
She's like,
like, Kohl's is cool, but Kohl's can also be really pricey. So the fact that was the one that was chosen, I was like, I don't get it. But okay, it's Plattsburgh.
Sure.
I don't.
Okay.
It's cool. And it's something more. So you can only complain so much. But there's nothing that kind of can, like, and again, I guess it could be a bias because I'm from Rockland County. We have the Palisades Mall. We have everything.
Yeah, it's true.
We have everything. But that's one thing. Like, we don't have stores. Like, you have students who are used to being able to go and find their hair products. Now I have to go buy hair products all offline. Like, I can't just go to a store and find my hair products.
Really?
Yes. I can't find the seasonings that I'm going to use in my food. Like, I want to be able to find that if I go to Walmart, Target, or a grocery store in general.
Interesting.
So those small, subtle things, like improving that. trying to think what else. I feel like there's not enough internship opportunities out in the community.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Again, because that brings back that connecting the campus and the community. If you can say like, hey, like, you know, I'm working at this small business or I'm working at that, because then that's how we can improve and get people to know what's going on. So whether it's job openings, part-time, where students can go, that's close to campus too, because that's a big deal. Not everyone has access to a car, and you know, not the shuttle's not going to be running all times of the night. So opportunities for internships and jobs, or just something where it's professional development for students. That's often what they're looking for. You know, we come to school to graduate and to be able to find a job. So, and jobs say you need 3 to 5 years experience, but I was in school for 4 years. So
yeah, right.
So having those opportunities, I think, are big. And I don't think even during the semester, there's not enough going on to really gain the students and bring the students into the community.
Interesting.
You have the Battle of Plattsburgh, but the campus does nothing to inform students of what the Battle of Plattsburgh is. So it just becomes a big fireworks show with a lot of people downtown. Like,
yeah, that's interesting.
There's no explanation as to why everything happens, the importance of this, the historical moments and things like that. So this campus is not learning the culture of the North Country or Clinton County.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even that, there's not enough activities happening. There's no fun things happening.
Oh, yeah. And there's some amazing history in this region.
There is.
That I think students of all backgrounds would resonate with.
Agreed.
You know, you brought up an interesting point, too. I mean, I think the community as a whole, businesses and all, like, time to step up a little bit and recognize that this is something we need to do to invest in our future. Shout out to all of you businesses listening that are in the downtown Plattsburgh area. If you think you can sponsor an intern or even just a job shadow, like, get in touch with SUNY Plattsburgh, because those little things add up, and I think that's a huge way that we can add some value. Yep. It was also interesting to hear from you, though, that there's very little education or announcement around what the Battle of Plattsburgh is. Mm-hmm. And that's just interesting to me, because not that the Battle of Plattsburgh is the whole big shebang of why you would be in Plattsburgh. I mean, I get that. It's not that big a deal. But the fact that most students don't know what it's about or what it is, I feel like there's something missing there. Where there's a gap there. Like, we need to fix that side of the equation too. Yeah. I don't know how you fix that, but it's interesting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it a lot. So businesses, if you're listening, a big takeaway from this, I think it's time for you to sit back and consider how you can contribute to that. Because as someone who loves this area and wants to see it successful, I see the growth of young people staying to this area and the diversity of this area growing. Like, all of it comes together to make us better. So consider your part. Are you ready? Actually, no. I'm not going to do the rapid fire yet. I have one more question.
Okay.
Before we get to the rapid fire.
Yep.
I want to give you an opportunity to plug or talk about any initiatives that Title IX or SUNY Plattsburgh in general are doing at the moment.
So there's so much change happening on campus. We're waiting for the president. We just got the new vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I saw that. What's her name again?
Michelle Cromwell.
From what college?
Nova Eastern, down there.
Oh, she is.
I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember. That could be wrong.
Don't quote me. We'll edit that out.
Yeah.
What the heck?
No, she's not from there.
Regis.
Yes, there you go. Regis
She's
College.
from Regis. And I remember that popped up for me because my cousin went to Regis.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. And she's brilliant, too. I hope you're listening, Melinda. Anyhow. That's great. So more current initiatives. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. We're going into the fall semester. So fall semester is always really big. I'm trying to think of what I have. I'm still in the works of, like, outlining the rest of the semester. But of course, we have Radius, which is our LGBTQ plus resource, and we'll be working with the Adirondack North Country Gender Alliance to do the Pride Parade. That's going to be October 5th, so that's awesome. We're really trying to get more people to, show out. Campus just had their sidewalk, so that's exciting. But we really want to bring in that community because we feel like it's very sheltered or closed off. They may not be safe either in Plattsburgh, so it's important. I'm looking to do more like open mic kind of things in the community, but still staying tuned for that, trying to figure out where and how, what time. Works for different people. Of course, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so the Title IX office has a talent show that happens on Halloween. It's family friendly.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, not everyone celebrates Halloween, so it's actually called either a Hallow Talent Show, or we can call it Fall Festival Talents. But we want to recognize that not everyone is big on dressing up, especially when in the last 2 years it's been pouring rain or snowing. So we'd rather go to the ballrooms, and we do that, and then all of the donations then go to Stop Domestic Violence through BHSN. So we try to give a lot back to the community. We just finished our SUNY Got Your Backpack initiative, where we got donations, an immense amount of donations for goods, and we gave it to both Stop Domestic Violence, and we have our own on-campus food shelf, so really trying to give back in those ways. But if people are still looking to donate to our food shelf, we are always looking for food. People underestimate how many hungry college students there are, and it's not a conversation that a lot of people are having, but SUNY Plattsburgh is ready to have that conversation now. So really trying to donate and get food into that office, and healthy food. A lot of times people just try to give students ramen. And ramen's great, but it's not healthy. So we want some healthy options here in traveling. So I think really looking forward to October with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, Pride Month, all of that going on as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love it. You're doing a lot of work. We keep circling more and more stories of gumption here that you just keep listening. This is great. This is awesome. Well, now I would like to pivot. My favorite, well, not my favorite, but it's a very enjoyable segment of the podcast for me. The rapid fire question. I have a handful of questions for you. I'm going to just rifle them off. I want you to think of whatever it is that comes to mind. And most of the time, they're similar questions to other guests. So listeners can compare or think about what they would answer if they were there.
They like me.
But here we go. So the first one, number one. What is a book that you would gift to a friend, and why would you gift it?
Yeah. I would definitely gift The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been turned into a movie now, which the movie is awesome too, but as always, books are better than movies, but
Of course.
But yeah, I'm definitely going with that because I think that gives a lot of perspective, especially a lot of the book one talks about a young girl who's trying to battle within her identity. She's raised in, lower income area, socioeconomic class area, but yet she's going to a private school, and her life is supposed to be oh so great, but no one ever thinks about how you're supposed to balance the two of those identities, and then having your best friend then shot by a cop, right? So it's really relatable, and I think it really gets into detail how, and I'm not going to say all people of color, specifically Black people feel, but I know for me personally, as a Black person, it was it sucked because it was seeing Black people die by cops again, but then seeing how the author was able to connect it through the book and really explain those emotions, I think was phenomenal.
And I think kind of highlighting something you said earlier in the podcast as it articulates to that, because the whole cops shooting Black citizens thing is a very fiery thing right now. Yeah. And I found through my engagements in the community that people have very strong opinions about both sides of it.
Indeed.
And I think your point about recognizing, maybe not agreeing with, but at least validating how someone feels about that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the facts are of each situation, like, I feel like that could bring us a little bit closer.
Yep.
Just to be like, I validate you.
Yeah.
I understand why that would upset you.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about it.
Yeah. And I think, like, even for me, like, I'm very firm on Black Lives Matter, and people may not like me now that I said it. But I'm very firm on it. But I also have an uncle who is a cop, like, and he knows and he gets it. And I mean, he's a Black man, so he's a cop, and of course he wears his badge. But at the end of the day, he's still a Black man, so he's still in danger. He's even had encounters with other cops where he's actually gotten physically harmed because they didn't know that he was a cop on duty and thought he was someone else.
Yeah.
But he still had a uniform and everything on. So, you know, it can get touchy there too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think there's ways to support one another through those journeys too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is my own white guy chiming into a conversation that I don't know if I should, but it's a dangerous slope. But I feel like from my conversations with a lot of people, it would have made a lot more sense to them if they interpreted it as Black Lives Matter 2, TOO. Like, that's my understanding. That's what it means. Yeah. It's not, no, just us. It's Black Lives Matter 2. Yeah. Please. Yeah. Anyhow.
Yep, that's true.
Any more comments on that, or okay?
No, I'm good.
All right. I love the dialogue. I think that's why I also love podcasting.
Yeah.
The dialogue is freaking great. We need a lot more dialogue in this world. Number 2, really fun question. You ready?
Okay.
Here it comes.
I'm like nervous.
If you could have a billboard anywhere in the world, any size, anywhere in the world, what would you put on that billboard?
See, I love corny jokes, so I want to go with a corny joke, but I don't know any off the top of my head right now, so it's not going to work. But then, like, as much as I love corny jokes, I am also, like, an activist and an advocate for other people. So I would say all oppression is linked. I think that is what would be in bold words. To really, I feel like it would start a conversation because one, you have a lot of people who see the word oppression and they're already upset and defensive. But then if you really dig deep into what that means and what does that look like, it's letting you know that we have systems that, they were put in place years ago before us. But we still have a responsibility to change those systems, and we still all play a role in changing these systems. So I think that's what it would say. All oppression is linked. We all can do something. Let's just do it.
I dig it.
Thanks.
I dig it. What is one of the best investments you have ever made, whether it be time, money, energy, etc., and why?
LOL. I feel like I'm still trying to learn investments, so I definitely don't really invest my money properly at all. I'm still learning. I downloaded Robinhood, but I don't understand stocks and investments or any of that
Very
at all.
few people do.
So if anyone wants to tell me how to make money in the world, let me know.
Yeah.
So that's definitely not where I am. I think time is like my biggest investment, and I would say time within myself. And it's an investment that I'm still learning how to do, because I do try to give a lot of my time to other people. Again, that supporting other people is what I'm big on. So learning right now, and I'm investing it now, is time unto myself. So giving back to myself, whether it be just watching Netflix or, going out, treating myself out, buy myself out for a dinner, things like that. So really trying to bring back that self-care and investing into myself.
I think that's so important too in the crazy world we live. It's easy to get your priorities out of whack. You got to take care of yourself.
Indeed.
That's where I've found running is good for me personally because dude, she's looking at me shaking her head. Nah,
No.
I'm not gonna run.
Can't relate to this at all.
But where I was gonna go with that is not necessarily the running exercise piece of it, but the piece of me going without headphones
Wow.
and being outside, nothing but ambient natural noise. And it actually ends up being really loud because my head is spinning.
Yes.
Yeah, and by the end of a run or just being outside you can do it with a walk or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic.
I think outside in general.
It's me time.
Yes.
Yeah. I got to unplug every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Last question. You ready?
Got it.
If we could assemble a 3-person board of directors to guide and mentor you through the rest of your life, so to speak, the business or company of Zyaijah Nadler, you always have a board of directors. So who would your 3 board of directors be? They can be dead, alive, famous, or not. Who would the 3 be and why?
I feel like I'm definitely... Well, I know, for one, not to say that I'm going to do characteristics, but just characteristics-wise, it has to be someone that's going to be okay with me messing up because that's bound to happen. So, of course, I'm going to go with my great-grandmother. Because
Excellent.
She was just a person. She passed away. But she was just one. She didn't care what she said, like, at all. And like I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it when it was coming at me sometimes. But it's supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to like everything that everyone says to you. So definitely her, because she was a ball of energy and fun. And being raised by her was a pleasure. Maya Angelou, I'm going with as well. I think there was a interview she had, and again, it just went viral recently. And she corrected someone and was like, "It's Miss Angelou to you," or something like that, because the person had called her Maya.
Ooh,
and she corrected them and said, and I was like, in the correction, I was like, yes, I think that assertiveness is necessary in some ways of life. So I feel like she would reinstill in me that, 1, it's okay to say no. And 2, it's okay to correct people. Like, because sometimes I want to correct someone. I'm like, maybe not. Now, I don't have that as much. But, like, I think she's really big on correcting people and poetry. I love poetry, so that is an easy go-to.
You mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, too, when you looked up your definition of gumption.
Yeah.
You didn't particularly love aggressiveness, assertiveness. Mm-hmm. So that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Because she'd give you a little more of it, maybe. Yeah.
But I think it's not to change the topic, because I'm going to answer the third person too. But the reason I don't like it is because the stereotype that comes with being a Black woman and being aggressive and assertive is bad. So it goes against this like Black superwoman complex that we're supposed to have, where we're supposed to be strong and save everything and save everyone. But yet we have to say it in a nice way that pleases others. So being a Black woman, being aggressive and assertive is not always taken lightly. Like it usually turns back to bite you in the butt. So that's why I say it
Gotcha.
In a lot of ways. But I'm still choosing her because then she also has that aspect of she doesn't even care. So I think adding her with my great grandmother would be good.
Dynamic duo so far.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. I don't know who the third person is. I don't know who I would choose. Like, easy me would say Beyonce, because it's Beyonce. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
She donates back to community. She makes a lot of money. She appears to be happy. We don't really know, but
we
it appears.
So.
Yeah, we assume
She's smiling a lot in the photos.
Nothing really comes out negatively. I don't know. I may have to go with Beyonce. Like, everyone else in my life is amazing too, but I think I may have to go with Beyonce.
This is your board of directors, okay?
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, Beyonce's gonna make me money. She's
True.
gonna teach me how to make money. She's gonna teach me stocks and investments.
True. She probably could. She'd probably teach me some stocks and investments too.
Or she'd pay someone to do it for me. So either way, that works.
I love it. Zyaijah, thank you so much. This has been an awesome episode.
No problem.
Like I said in the beginning, I was like, I knew we were going to have some fun. We were going to definitely have some fun. And I learned something. I love it.
Thank you for having
sending message you'd like to give to any of the listeners?
Yeah. I mean, I'm cool. Like, I'm nice.
I agree.
If you're from Clinton County and, you want to go to Olives and play, like, a game of Uno, like, we can make that happen. Like, I'm fine with that. I like playing games there. We've done that before. It's not uncommon. If you're trying to collaborate on, like, an event that has to do with violence against women, diversity, equity, inclusion, LGBTQ issues, like, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always down to collaborate, especially with the community, because I'm big on trying to get people to stay in Plattsburgh just because I need people.
Yeah, we all
for
do.
myself.
We all do.
So yeah, I think I'm pretty open. I'm cool.
What's the best way for people to contact you, if that's okay to share?
Yeah. I'd say my Plattsburgh email address, so znadl001@plattsburgh.edu. I'm going to go that direction. Unless, like, you're going to email me and tell me you didn't like any of my answers, then, just send it to you all. Like,
if you didn't like any of it and you have to...
Just send it to Ryan.
You can send it to storiesofgumptionpodcast@gmail.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I think that works well.
That works great. Awesome. Zyaijah, thank you so much. This has been a great episode.
Thank you.
Everybody, don't forget, we are sponsored by Open Gate Farmstead. Happy animals make the healthiest and tastiest product. Check them out on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and they'll take $1 off your first order of eggs if you haven't ordered their eggs before. Let them know. Matt and Sarah Craig, owners of Open Gate Farmstead. Also, Kavanaugh Realty, Galen and Joey Trombley, they're out there selling homes, and they're working their butts off to help move the economy forward in their own way. #Local Matters. Thank you so much. This has been another good one. Episode 14.
Thank you.
We done.